A young man named Quan Yu, known online by his handle Captain, is in no rush to find a job. His true passion lies in video games. His friends exist only in the virtual world. The team occasionally meets in real life, but Quan never attends these gatherings because he cannot afford to. He logs off the chat when his mother calls. She's frustrated with her son's idle lifestyle, but Quan hangs up on her rather than listen to her complaints. Instead, he dives back into gaming. He's interrupted by a phone call to his mobile, which is lying under the desk. A girl on the other end explains that she left her phone at the internet cafe and promises a generous reward if he delivers it to her house. Hearing the amount he would receive, Quan immediately agrees. The teenager arrives at the address and finds the door slightly open. Through the glass of the shower, he sees the girl. She thanks him, tells him where she left the money, and just a couple of minutes later, Quan leaves, asking her to lock the door behind him for his own safety. He wakes up at home to the sound of someone fiddling with his lock. Within seconds, the police storm into the room, slam him to the ground, and charge him with a serious crime. News of the incident spreads quickly, and when the suspect is escorted through town, the outraged citizens try to take justice into their own hands. During the interrogation, the detective presents evidence that points to Quan's guilt. His fingerprints are found all over the room, along with traces of biological fluids. According to the prosecution, the gamer assaulted the girl twice and then disposed of her using a knife found in his possession. Quan's mother goes to the town square, hoping to prove her son's innocence, but the crowd blames her for raising a monster. With no other choice, she turns to human rights lawyer Min Xian for help. Initially, the lawyer refuses to take on such a hopeless case and suggests she convince her son to plead guilty. But after witnessing her tears, he reluctantly agrees to participate. At the trial, all the evidence points to Quan's guilt. The judge sentences the teenager to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is taken away in handcuffs without even a chance to say goodbye to his mother. In the prison transport vehicle, Quan Yu begins to understand just how hard his new reality will be. He's placed in solitary confinement, but must come out for meals and outdoor time. During one such outing, he is brought before the prison's resident boss, Ma Duk-Su, who sits on a chair laughing at the newcomer while mockingly showing him a rude gesture. Unable to tolerate the humiliation, Quan tries to fight back, but this earns him a brutal beating, something the guards watch without interfering. When they finally break up the fight, Quan is blamed and sent to solitary confinement. A month later, he returns to the yard, doing his best to avoid his tormentors. Two outcasts approach him, and for a moment, Quan thinks there might be a chance for some form of friendship. But when the men start asking him to graphically describe the underage girl involved in his case, he realizes he will have to continue surviving on his own. The abuse continues daily, becoming more twisted and cruel, involving the same two perverts who had approached him outside earlier. After the incident, Quan is once again thrown into solitary confinement. Meanwhile, his mother does not lose hope. She organizes solo protests, determined to seek justice for her son. Quan is brought in for a visit. His mother, accompanied by the lawyer, joyfully tells him that a witness has come forward who might help overturn the court's decision. She pleads with her son not to give up and to believe in victory, promising to do everything in her power. This gives Quan Yu the strength to endure the horrors he faces every day. He also finds support from an old inmate who, while careful not to attract attention to himself, secretly gives Quan helpful advice and even herbal medicine to help his wounds heal. During yet another attempted assault, Quan notices the attackers closing in, but this time, he is ready to defend himself. Recalling everything he had learned from video games, he knocks out the prison boss. Surprisingly, instead of being punished and thrown back into solitary, he is taken to another meeting. The young man hopes to see his mother, but instead, it is only Min Chan who arrives. The lawyer brings devastating news. Quan's mother has taken her own life, unable to cope with what was happening to her son. Devastated, Quan is shielded by guards from further attacks by the gang, but the prison boss has his own plans. To carry them out, he stages a riot. Quan manages to fight him off, leaving a scar on the man's cheek. Then Quan stabs himself. Both are taken by ambulance to the hospital. Somewhere along the way, in the forest, Quan makes his escape. Following the old man's advice, he had inserted the knife in a way that would not cause serious harm. One of the guards had a chance to stop him, but pitying the boy, lets him go. The fugitive wanders through the woods until he stumbles upon a car with American tourists. He helps them with a mechanical issue, and in return, They drive him far away from the area. One tourist notices that Kwon is hiding from the police but chooses not to report him. Instead, he gives the young man an old car. With nowhere else to go, Kwon sneaks into the lawyer's apartment. Min Xian is not thrilled about the visit but pretends to be willing to help. He even returns a necklace that once belonged to Kwon's mother, which he had taken earlier, saying it so Kwon could have something to remember her by. But not long after, the house is surrounded by police. The lawyer asks Kwon to turn himself in, promising to continue working on his case. But Kwon, no longer believing in justice, runs. He goes to an internet cafe and reads the latest news about himself. There he finds a website dedicated to analyzing his case, a community that believes in his innocence. An anonymous user has even obtained surveillance footage showing that Kwon left the girl's apartment just 3 minutes after entering. He receives a message with a warning and an address to a cafe, where he's told to meet someone named Fatty. The anonymous voice, which sounds male, turns out to belong to a girl who can only communicate by phone. She knows Kwon from the game and, after learning of his situation, decided to help. Fatty drives Kwon to his house, located somewhere outside the city. While talking to him by phone, the girl invites Kwon to the table and comforts him when he breaks down, crying over everything he's been through. They are soon joined by 3 other gamers, whom Kwon had imagined quite differently. Still, all of them are ready to take the risk and uncover the truth behind the strange case to save their fellow gamer from a wrongful sentence. Meanwhile, the police interrogate the lawyer, but he cannot tell them anything. Kwon had not shared any of his plans. The defender leaves empty-handed and, during his drive, flips through files on both Kwon and Ma Duk-soo. Distracted Min Xian nearly causes an accident. When someone hurls insults at him, he takes note of the offender's license plate. Fatty uncovers several recent crimes that seem eerily similar. All of them share a common pattern. The evidence appears staged, almost deliberately placed, and the suspects are always caught within the first 24 hours. But the group notices another important detail. At each crime scene, a conspicuous fake truck is spotted. The hacker girl traces the truck to a junkyard, and Kwon, along with one of his new friends, goes to investigate. Kwon follows a jeep that leaves the junkyard, and the trail leads him to a mansion where 2 men in expensive suits are engaged in something strange. Peeking inside, Kwon sees the place covered in blood. A specialized cleaning crew is scrubbing everything meticulously, leaving no trace. Then the 2 men carry out a massive case and load it back onto the truck. The refrigerated truck delivers the case to a high-rise building. Kwon's teammates join forces to help him break inside. Fatty guides him remotely to the correct apartment. It belongs to a young man who is a reality TV star. When Kwon opens the case, he finds the apartment's owner lifeless inside. Hearing footsteps, Kwon hides and watches as a crowd floods into the room, planting random fingerprints and footprints to make it look like a wild party gone wrong. The body is then coated in wax. Once everyone leaves, Kwon comes out of hiding, unaware of the tiny camera watching him, operated by none other than lawyer Min Xian. His secretary informs him that she's found over 100 potential scapegoats to pin the crime on. Secluded in a secret room, Min Xian opens a flash drive and reviews the candidates, yet everything about them irritates him. In frustration, he sends one of the profiles to his assistant, demanding a detailed report immediately, but she refuses. This throws Min Xian into a fit of rage, revealing deep psychological issues. Meanwhile, a team of hired legal agents, stationed in a bus, receives their mission and jumps into action. Some begin preparing the apartment, others handle fingerprints, and someone else deals with the body. Back with Kwon's group, they start piecing together the entire operation of this criminal network. They manage to identify the next target, the person who is about to be framed. Kwon instructs Fatty to find her. The elderly gamer gains access to the girl's phone and plants a bug, but he accidentally witnesses her in a heated confrontation with a relative. Kwon also sees the situation and decides to step in to defend her, risking his own safety. While listening to her conversations, Kwon recognizes the voice of the same girl who had once called him to deliver a forgotten phone. This time, she calls the next victim and talks about a lost wallet. To trace the scammer's location, Fatty tells Kwon to call her and keep her talking for at least 3 minutes. But Kwon is paralyzed by memories and cannot speak. One of the girls grabs the phone and handles the call herself. Kwon then follows the woman, but before he can confront her, a biker from the same gang picks her up. Kwon tries to pursue them in his car, but he is soon tailed by someone else. He blacks out during the chase and regains consciousness surrounded by Ma Duk-soo and his thugs. The prison boss is ready to make him pay, but Fatty comes to the rescue. She brings a SWAT team to an abandoned hangar. Although the officers receive a command to delay the raid, the leader decides to ignore the strange order and proceeds with the operation. While the police and gang members clash, Fatty drives Kwon away from the scene. However, they are immediately followed. The hacker girl discovers a tracking device hidden in the necklace Kwon wears, the last memento of his mother. Yangur assembles a drone from whatever materials he can find, and the team sends it to the lawyer's office. Through the drone's audio, they pick up strange conversations. Most of it is hard to understand, but one thing is clear. The attorney is determined to find Kwon Yu and eliminate him. The drone scans the building and locates a safe that appears to hold a large amount of valuable information. The system's security is so advanced that even Fatty cannot break through it. Meanwhile, Min Cheon's secretary informs him that someone has visited the apartment they had prepared. When the lawyer arrives at the scene, he finds a photo of himself with a warning, and discovers that all the evidence meant to frame the girl has been sabotaged. Furious, he cancels the operation, just as the father of the girl, whom the criminal group is currently trying to protect, walks in. Min Cheon had promised him, for a massive sum of money, to pin the crime she committed on someone else. Back with the gamers, things are getting creative. They start having fun, building more drones and sending them to their enemies both for surveillance and as a means of punishment. One by one, all those involved in the sinister operation fall into the player's hands. None of this bothers Min Cheon, who is ready to hire an entirely new staff rather than waste time on failures. His main focus now is to complete one critical job, but nothing goes as planned. Kwon and his team deliver the murdered influential girl, the true killer, to the framed man's apartment and call in the police and the press. The millionaire, enraged, calls the lawyer to find out what is going on, but Min Cheon hangs up. Then Kwon calls him. He simply reminds Min Cheon of who he is and disconnects, an act of audacity that sends the lawyer into a frenzy. He wrecks his kitchen in a fit of rage. Min Cheon rushes into his secret room, only to find Kwon Yu already waiting for him. The young man unleashes his full fury on the corrupt lawyer, beating him with all his strength. He hacks into Min Cheon's computer and finds a video of himself and his mother. As Min Cheon mocks him over his mother, Kwon nearly finishes him off, but a phone call stops him. It's Ma Duk-soo. He has taken Kwon's entire team hostage, and if anything happens to Min Cheon, they will all die. Kwon leaves the battered lawyer and rushes to save his friends. But Min Cheon is not done. Still clinging to control, he calls Kwon to tell him that Fatty will be spared, but the girl will be framed for another crime. All the evidence for it has already been fabricated. Meanwhile, Ma Duk-soo begins the execution, but the gun misfires, sparing the group. The lights go out, and a chaotic shootout begins. Navigating by sound and instinct, Kwon manages to save his friends. Together, they flee the hideout, but Ma Duk-soo's gang gives chase. A wild and dangerous pursuit erupts on the city streets as Kwon and his team do everything they can to escape. Min Cheon watches everything unfold with twisted delight, and a new idea strikes him, a way to spice things up. He leaks edited video footage to the media, framing Kwon Yu and his friends as a deranged group of psychopaths who committed horrific crimes and then framed the daughter of a powerful man. The footage even includes scenes from prison, manipulated to suggest that Kwon was a menace behind bars, tormenting other inmates. The gamers abandon their car in an underground parking garage and, under Captain's command, attempt to lose their pursuers. While the guys use their gaming skills to set traps and shake off the enemies, Fatty tries to hack into the human rights lawyer's system, but before he can finish, Ma Duk-soo intercepts the drive and takes it to the crime scene. The team's plan falls apart. The entire crew is captured by a tactical strike force, and only Kwon manages to escape. He tries to rescue his friend, but it is no easy task. His car and weapons are inferior to those of Ma Duk-soo. Using his wits once again, Kwon lures the thugs into a trap, rescues Fatty, and rushes off to save the rest of the team. Kwon then leads every available police unit on a wild chase and drives straight to a location swarming with journalists. He steps out of the vehicle with his hands raised, a move that thrills Min Cheon, who believes he has finally won. But the group hasn't given up yet. While the boys pretend to surrender, Fatty and a newly joined duo extract all of the lawyer's secret files and hack into the national broadcast system. Suddenly, screens across the country light up with undeniable evidence exposing the criminal organization's operations, their connections to public officials, and Kuan Yu's innocence. Min Qian is arrested and sent to prison, where old friends are already waiting. They have plenty of questions for their former boss, and he is forced to answer them through pain. As for Kuan Yu, he returns the borrowed car to the American tourists and spends quiet time with his loyal friends, reflecting on his mother and all that has happened. So what did you think of the film Fabricated City? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.